Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond, with Kristen, Levine, and Chris Bonifati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and DOGTV.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Pets Add Life. I am Chris Bonifati, joined as always by the exciting and extreme Kristen Levine.
Ooh,
Kristen,
I like
how we
it.
doing
You threw
today?
a rhyme in there too. I'm doing
I
great.
know. I'm a poet. I do know it, and everybody
know it.
respects me for it.
And we've got matchy today. We both got the peach color going.
We've got our peach color, and I feel like it's because we're anticipating a holiday coming up here, folks. We've got Mother's Day coming up. Don't forget. Don't be that jerk who forgets to get your mom some flowers or a card or a phone call. Don't be that guy or gal. And we've got some fun Mother's Day programming lined up for you all. But I think it's going to be a pretty spectacular episode, if I do say so myself.
I think so too. I agree.
We're clearly drift compatible with the matching outfits. I feel like we're both in the same state of mind. This is going to be a good one. I don't know if I brought up that reference before, the drift compatible thing?
No, and I don't know what that means.
It's from that movie Pacific Rim. A circle like maybe 8 years ago, maybe a little more actually. I might be aging myself, but they're like big robots fight Godzilla monsters, and the robots have to be piloted by two people, and they have to be drift compatible, which is just like, they got to be friends. It's simultaneously a great and a horrible movie. It's one of those.
Well, I know that I will never use that term because I will never watch the movie, but I'm glad you told me what it means.
That's so fair. And hey, if you're out there watching this movie, be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and all that fun stuff. If you're watching on DOGTV, that's awesome. If you're watching on the new DOGTV Fast channel, that's even better. So thank you to all of our lovely viewers out there. And if you're just listening, you're missing out on the matching colors today. And that's really what brings this episode together. But without further ado, let's get into today's episode, starting with Storytime.
Kristen and Chris present Storytime.
All right. Mine's less of a story, more of a news update. And this is something that I learned from Dr. Jessica Vogelsang. We interviewed her a couple of weeks ago for an upcoming show. We'll tell you about that later. But she shared with me that the American Animal Hospital Association has just updated their core vaccine guidelines for dogs. So typically core vaccines include distemper, rabies, parvovirus, and depending on the area of the country that you live, your dog might need a Lyme disease vaccine or canine adenovirus. But the one that has been added to the core vaccines is the leptospirosis vaccine. And they just officially updated these guidelines last year. And basically it's recommended for all dogs that go outdoors, whether they're in an urban or a rural that's a hard word to say, rural setting. And I guess we always kind of thought that it only affected hunting dogs or dogs that were in wet environments, but they have seen such an increase in cases of leptospirosis, hopefully I'm saying that right, in dogs, that now it's considered a core vaccine. So it's also important to know that this is a zoonotic. Leptospirosis is zoonotic, which means that it can spread from animals to humans. So all the more reason to make sure that your dog is up to date on that vaccine. They say that they typically recommend it beginning at 12 weeks of age if you have a puppy, and then you continue that vaccine annually. So I know that, whenever we take Tulip for her annual wellness visits, there's always a recommendation for a couple of non-core vaccines, and I usually go ahead with them, but now the leptospirosis will be included in core. So there's your vaccine update for puppers.
That's great. I love
I
vaccines.
hope you have a fluffier story than I did.
I do. I've got a good one. I've got a little bit of like a
Okay.
role reversal here because I feel like I was actually worried that you were going to do this story and then I was going to be here empty-handed. Like, my story
like last week, or
yeah, my story is I forgot to do my homework. We're going to talk about the things I was doing instead of my homework. But the AKC went ahead and released the most popular dog breeds in the United States for the year 2024. And what usually happens is Kristen covers these stories and has me guess, and I get them all wrong.
Dang, I missed that.
We're going to flip the script.
Okay.
Any guess for number one most popular dog breed in the United States 2024?
Well, I know it was Labradors for many, many years, and I know that they got bumped. And I think they got bumped by the French Bulldog.
That is correct. Frenchies are back on top for the third year in a row, with Labrador Retrievers coming in at number 2, and then Golden Retrievers, which honestly, like I do this podcast, no idea that there was a difference, is third, and fourth being German Sheppard. So the list is compiled by the AKC, and let's go through some of the breeds that climbed the rankings. The Kerry Blue Terrier had the highest jump, moving up 25 spots. A beautiful dog. They have a picture of it here.
Wow.
Moving up 25 spots from 160 to 135. The Bracco Italiano, which is what all of my friends call me, recognized by the AKC in 2022, continues to move up, moving up 20 spots from 152 to 132. Also, absolutely beautiful.
Big jump.
Dog. And then the losers. The Saluki, the Black and Tan Coonhound, and the wire-haired Vizsla also saw their breeds move down the list. So just a little interesting survey piece. The link, as always, will be included in your show notes if you want to take a look. But I thought that was a fun one. With French Bulldogs really, really are winning. They really are. I see them all the time. They're everywhere. And they just remind me of aliens. I love them. Don't get me wrong, but they look like they look like they jumped out of a spaceship like 10,000 years ago. And I'll tell you what, this will be fine.
If you're getting a Frenchie or have a Frenchie, I highly recommend you get pet insurance. They have a lot of ailments, unfortunately.
It's because they're not supposed to be breathing this atmosphere. You know, the atmosphere on their home planet was a little different. The gravity was a little different. That's why their noses are so smushed here. Those little aliens, so cute, so adorable. But definitely grab that pet insurance if you're thinking of getting a Frenchie.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
All right, our next guest is an old friend of mine. It's Rachel Sheppard. She's the director of ventures at Mars Pet Care and the co-lead of the Leap Venture Studio and Academy. Excuse me. I'm so excited. The Leap Venture Studio and Academy is a pioneering accelerator dedicated to advancing innovation in pet care. And with a rich background in animal science and entrepreneurship, Rachel has been a driving force in supporting startups that aim to improve the lives of pets and their owners. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Chris. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure. Let me just kick it off by asking you, can you give us a little bit of background on your journey going from studying animal science to now this awesome role leading ventures at Mars Pet Care?
Well, yes, happy to provide some context on how I ended up here. You were part of that journey also, as you know, Kristen, which is really awesome. And I'm really excited to tell everybody about how much of an impact you've had on my career. So,
you're so sweet.
It's so true. And it's really amazing. And if anything, I hope people walk away with talk to a young person who wants to be in pet care for 5 minutes, and you can really change their career trajectory in a very big way. So I study animal science at Davis, as you mentioned, is a wonderful, beautiful introduction to animal science overall, and really loved my time at Davis and was pre-veterinary. But I decided not to go to veterinary school and went and got my MBA in entrepreneurship. So before that, I worked in clinics as an assistant. So anyone who's applied to veterinary school knows very well. you have to have a lot of hands-on experience with animals in order to even apply and, get into the programs. And so I worked at goat barns. I had a goat barn internship. I had a radiology internship, and I worked a lot in clinic. And sort of just was an assistant who was learning very much so on the job and trying to be as helpful as possible as I could to various clinics, which is still an experience that sticks with me every day. Like I still remember very specific cases and patients, and it was such an impactful way to start my career. And I'm super grateful for that time in clinic. And then I started my MBA program at Santa Clara University, and that was where Kristen and I met. So I took a women in leadership class, and Kristen was a guest mentor for that class and said she was a pet lifestyle expert. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Like, I would like to
wait, that was an option?
Yeah, I was like, no one told me this was an option. You had astronauts, you had veterinarians, you had teachers, but no one said pet lifestyle expert was an option. And so I asked my teacher, my professor, I was like, can I talk to Kristen? Like, do you think she'd be open to chatting with me? And she was very kindly gave me like 30 minutes of her time and was like, you should start writing about pet care. You should start, sort of just like keeping your eyes on what's happening in the industry. And so I did. And then I was, going around to different size businesses and groups, innovative groups within larger companies, but also mostly startups. And then I worked at an accelerator for 6 years as the director of global marketing. And there I co-created the Female Founder Initiative with my friend and colleague. And we wanted to just help more women come through the program and start companies around the world because we were operating in 90 countries. And so we were in a really good position to make a difference is how we felt about it. And we doubled the number of women coming through the program by the time I left. And through that experience, I was like, I think I want to work with companies one-to-one. Like, I think that's really fun. And I want to find ways to be supportive to founders who take this incredible risk and start a company and grow it from scratch. And it's just an amazing thing. And so I did. I started working with companies one-to-one, mostly female founders at first. And then I joined the Leap Slack group as a person and was like, does anyone want any help? I used to work in clinic. I'm a marketer. Let me know how I can be helpful. And because I had been paying attention to the pet care industry the whole time and following Kristen's advice of writing and creating content around it, I, found myself to be decently useful. And then to some of the companies, which is, just really fun. And so then my predecessor was like, right at the moment that he was looking for his replacement, I messaged him and said, hey, is there anything else I can be doing to help these companies? And that was almost 4 years ago. And so now I'm the director of ventures at Mars Pet Care. And it's all really thanks to a 30-minute phone call Kristen and I had like 12 years ago.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. And I'll tell you this much. The name of my autobiography is going to be, And I Found Myself Decently Useful. It's such a great line. If
I can say that throughout life, I'd be pretty happy about it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So my entire experience with startup accelerators, or sometimes called incubators, is from the show Silicon Valley, which is a hilarious show. But I could imagine that in real life, it's really not like that at all. So can you elaborate a bit on Leap Venture Studios and this whole concept of a startup accelerator, what your role is, what your mission is, and the impact you've had on the pet care ecosystem?
Absolutely. So I'll talk about accelerators in general, and then I'll elaborate a little more on Leap specifically. So accelerators in general, it really started around this idea where, venture's been around a long time. A lot of the venture capitalists that are on Sand Hill Road that have been in Silicon Valley, it's a very well-established industry. And I think around the time of the recession, you started to see more and more startups growing. You obviously started, in the early .coms and so on and so forth. And then you saw a ton of acceleration you tend to see it come out of hard times. So like a lot of people will go to startups to try to solve problems in like harder economic times. You can kind of see some of the very well-funded companies started around these dips in the economy, especially in the US. And so the accelerator program that I was at previously, they had started back in 2009 and were really supporting startups and sort of helping people figure out how to start a company. If you're starting something from scratch, what don't you know about starting a company? Because most people have an expertise, right? Like there are things when people talk about them, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like it's some sort of category that's way outside, like space, for example. I know nothing about space, and but there are experts in space, and then they want to launch something and create something innovative in their category, and then there are people who have made careers off of being experts in fundraising and operating and scaling, and those are the things that, accelerators can really help people work their way through. And at the pre-seed stage, which is the stage I was at previously, you're really working on validating the idea stage. Like, is this really an idea that can make money? Is this addressable market even big enough? And so at Leap Venture Studio, we're at the seed stage, which means that they're past the idea stage. They've validated enough that there's probably some market validation. And that depends on what segment of pet care we're talking about. Like we invest in consumer-focused businesses, and we also invest in diagnostics. So in diagnostics, the seed stage is a little different than CPG. But on the consumer side, for example, you're probably post-product, meaning something's in the market and people are paying for it, and you probably have a little bit of revenue. The more crowded your space is, the more revenue investors like to see. And so at the seed stage, we're really helping founders in a little bit more of a custom way. It's less about here are the basics, and it's more about tell us what you need, and we're going to go find the experts in our networks, broadly speaking, that can help you work through these pain points that you might have, or these milestones or challenges. And we, of course, can focus specifically on pet care because we are a corporate, venture accelerator, which makes things a little more specific to the segment. And we can go find experts in pet care who can help you have these conversations. And of course, there's also generalists, anyone who may have some expertise, for example, in customer retention or in supply chain management or things like that, for example.
Mm-hmm. Wow, I have so many questions, but I'm gonna go with this one for our listeners. Let's talk a little bit about trends. With your experience working with all of these startups, what emerging trends or technologies do you see that are shaping the future of pet care?
This is really fun. I love this question because it just, my answer constantly changes, and meaning it changes like every 6 months to a year, because you start to see new things and also new influences, right, that are happening from the macro environment all the time. So some of the things that I'm thinking about a lot, or we're thinking about a lot at Leap, is senior pets and senior pet care. And so that's like a category in and of itself. And then there's a lot of innovative ways to sort of address that, right? So we've seen solutions around better detecting pain and measuring pain and determining what is chronic versus acute. That's it's a company called Pain Trace. Those types of things are very interesting. And then I also think about, we have this inflection of senior pets that's coming, right, with all of the pandemic puppies and kittens that were adopted. And so how do we better prepare pet parents for senior pet parenthood? Because the beautiful part about the time we live in today is that people just want to do better by their pets, even a little bit every day, right? And so as that is the case, how do we help people feel a little more confident as they start to go into the senior pet years, right? What do they know about holistic care? What can they be doing at home, to sort of help their pet with mobility, or, change, the bedding, or even, what could be done differently that can just, make their pets' lives just a little bit better every day, which is a really awesome sort of category to think about. And then you get into some really innovative technologies like Pain Trace, which I mentioned. There's another great company we invested in called Moggy, which has a cat activity tracker, but it's more than activity. It's also nuance in how they're moving, how they're behaving, and is there anything that they're telling you there that might be very important for you to know, because people don't always know what the signs of pain are in their pets, or when they're hiding something. And cats, as we know, are very good at this, at hiding their symptoms, right? And so how can we help people know more and listen better to their pets? And then you even see things like there's a great company called Leaps, not related to Leap, but Leaps, which is a food to support pets through cancer treatment. Like, how can we change how we're supporting them nutritionally speaking, as we think about the challenges that they may face in their health journey? And so all of the above are just, examples of ways that I think we're starting to see the industry think more about senior pet care. And then there's two other sort of segments that I like to think about a lot. The other one is diagnostics, and that comes in a variety of different categories too. There's point of care diagnostics, of course, like things that we're seeing come to the clinic. And then we invested in a company, a really cool company called MyRNA Diagnostics out of the UK that is creating different types of early screening opportunities for symptoms that are just not typically screened for. So, for example, like cat cardiac disease. And they also have other products available in the animal health space broadly. And then we have diagnostics at home, which I was listening to your last episode with Dr. Marty Becker about fear-free, and I kept thinking about at-home diagnostics and how that's really can help a lot, right? How can we learn more at home where our pets are comfortable and relaxed, and there's there's hopefully few stressors in their environment, unless you're doing like a renovation or something. But there's hopefully fewer stressors at home. And so how can we leverage diagnostics? Like we invested in Animal Biome and Innovative Pet Lab, which are looking at gut health and better understanding that. And also Oncotect, which allows you to screen for cancer using free catch urine, which is a game changer. So, how can we leverage these things to continue to just create the best experience for our pets? So those are some of the categories I'm thinking about. And accessibility of care is another one, which is I think about that in two segments. One is by affordability. So how can we think about, just making sure that we're thinking about the different levels of care and making sure that pet parenthood is as accessible as possible for the most amount of people, especially because it's such a joyful thing. We really want people to be able to, if they can provide the basics, to feel like they're doing a good job being a pet parent. And then, of course, the other segment is accessibility by like actual location. So like where are there gaps in veterinary care, and how can we fill those gaps? And we just invested in a company called Otis, which is working on this through a telemedicine platform as well.
Wow, there is a lot going on. I'm connected to the pet industry every day, and I'm still like, that is a lot of stuff that's happening. Rachel, we are coming up on time, but I want to give you an opportunity for our listeners out there who may be interested in learning more about either your story or the work that you're doing or some of the companies you're investing in. Where can they find you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. That's probably the best place to find me. I'm really excited. We've invested in 57 companies to date, but we've tracked hundreds a year. There's so many, and this is, we're investing across 17 markets. There's a global pet innovation, wave that's happening right now, and I'm so excited to play even a small role in it. To be, what did I say earlier? Moderately useful, at least decently useful in this category. It's a really fun job.
I would say you're extremely useful, Rachel, and I'm just so proud to see how you've built your career and relatively short time. I mean, I think we met like 15 years ago, maybe 12 to 15 years ago. So thanks for sharing all this with us, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person soon at one of the pet or veterinary shows.
That sounds great. Thank you both so much for having me.
So, Kristen, when are you going to launch my career into the stratosphere?
It's so cool. I remember both that first call I had with her, and I remember meeting her in person at a conference in San Francisco, and she was blogging at the time. She had a really cool pet blog, and it blows my mind to see how far she's come. So it's just so super cool. Really proud of her.
You should be. Well, folks, we've got a special Mother's Day treat for you all. Joining us now are the Dog Moms, Chrissy Joy and Amber Aquart, two of the most renowned dog trainers in the United States. As I said, they host the hit series The Dog Moms, which offers viewers expert advice on canine health, behavior, and nutrition. And I heard a little rumor that the show has been so well received, they're prepping for a second season, which must be real nice. Second season implies a break, which is something that we don't get over here at PAL. Amber, Chrissy, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. We're stoked to be here.
Yes,
Yeah.
excited for season 2, and we're just excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about the show? Do a little commercial bit. What's season 2 got in store for us?
I think it's always surprises for us, and so it's surprises for the viewers too.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, the show is a lot of fun because we get to like answer questions on the spot, and Chrissy and I feed off of each other and come up with all these ideas, which is really fun.
And I think it's neat because you don't see many unscripted shows these days. And this is truly something that we have not seen before. Each episode is very organic, and that goes with the topics that we get to talk about. So it's not just about, hey, come and try to learn some, pet care tips and dog training, but we get to share some of our personal experiences too. And honestly, I think at the end of the day, even if you are a well-known dog trainer, at the end of the day, we're all pet parents in some way, shape, or form. So we struggle with the same struggles that people do, having too much hair in the house, muddy paws on a rainy day. Like, we get it.
Yeah, and having to juggle having multiple pets and kids and having a real life and career on top of having pets, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, speaking of having pets and kids, Mother's Day is coming up. That's one of the reasons we wanted the Dog Moms on the show today. Can you guys, can you kind of parallel the role of a dog mom to a traditional mom of human children?
I will say dogs are a lot easier to train.
I'll bet.
Yeah, my son is 18 months old now, and he is just like the love of my life, the joy of my life, but so are my dogs and my cats, and I have a love for all of them, but raising a kid is definitely comes with its challenges, but I think having a pet kind of prepares you to you can't be selfish and you can't be self-focused. You have to really put their needs and all the things you have to do for your pets. You have to put those things first sometimes. If you want to go on vacation, you have to plan that out, and you have to organize your day to make sure they have time to go to the bathroom and get exercise and enrichment. And then when it comes to a kid, it's like your life doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, it's a good introduction into the life of sacrificing a little bit, but also it being so worth it because of how much love and joy they bring you.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, I think that, Amber, you said it perfectly, but then I think what we love to touch on is just the importance of, while you are giving so much to your family, that you don't lose yourself in the process. And I think sometimes parents can feel that they almost lived a double life, like the life they were before just feels so foreign to the life they are now. But there's such great ways to do some simple things to kind of reconnect with, what fuels you, so that you can only be better when you have to show up and do what life asks of you as a parent and as a dog mom or a dog dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, there is certainly a toll, a price to be paid. Mm-hmm. But what about the other end? Nurturing a dog, training a dog, and having that companion. How do you feel like it's impacted your life emotionally, socially, metaphorically, metaphysically, biblically?
All of the above.
All of the above, yeah.
I think Amber's got a great experience. I don't want to speak for her, but just from someone looking on the outside in, I almost laughed when you said socially, because I'm like, what social life? Because we feel so well, this is it. This is our life now. But, Amber, you've built such an amazing platform that, if anything, I think that you have a bigger connection socially than maybe even before.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Thanks, Chrissy. It's really cool because dogs bring so much to our lives. And like you said, even though they're mostly our only friends are dogs, but we wouldn't have met each other if it weren't for our dogs. And, we can bond over our dogs. And it's really cool to see how being a pet parent and being a dog parent really does connect you with other people. And so it creates this mutual love and this mutual way that we can relate to each other, and we can just appreciate life with our dogs. And my dog has something to say about that too.
He agrees. I think not to speak over you, Amber.
No, go ahead.
I think I started in a place of having a lot of anxiety and not knowing my way, and that comes along with depression and, self-worth issues, things like that. And bringing a dog into my life really just helped to ground me and kind of change my entire world. And so now that I feel like I've grown from that experience and that I found that dogs and animals are kind of my connection to being the best I can be, that now when I am able to meet people, there's so much relation with not just loving an animal, but how they better our lives, and the stories that you can get from people that will tell you, like, no one will tell you, like, I can't really share this with anybody else, but this dog has literally saved my life. This dog, is there for me every day. Out of all the horrible things that I've been through, he's been there, she's been there. And I think that that's just another deep layer of how animals affect us more than just giving us something. It's that we create this, this sanctuary between dog and human. And there's so many multiple layers there. And I feel that we've kind of all been through something that, has made our relationship with our pet even stronger. So in general, I've learned that a lot of people that I reach out to are like, oh my gosh, I have such a history of anxiety too. And like, you can just reach so much deeper to the people around you, especially when you've learned that animals aren't just cute and cuddly, but they provide so much more to the well-being of our world.
Oh, that's so well put. I agree 100%. Let me just bring it back to Mother's Day for a second. I would love to hear some of your ideas for how dog moms can celebrate Mother's Day, or maybe dog dads can help celebrate the dog mom and their family.
So I think for Mother's Day, some of the things that let's talk about, like, what is the typical, everyone thinks like Hallmark, right? So it's like, get the card, get the flowers, don't say no, get her favorite fast food, right? But, and it depends on who you are as a person. I really love like acts of service. So that appreciation there. So I think going for a walk as a family and spending that quality time together, you don't have to buy me the fancy ring, the flowers, none of that, but maybe taking the whole family out and just having that quality time together, especially if you guys feel like you're on different planets. Like, my husband's deployed right now. So it's like, but getting that chance to kind of all be together, to me, that is so special. And it's something that doesn't cost much, or if anything at all.
Yeah, I think that's really what we all want as moms, is we want to have that quality time with the ones that we love, and whether that's a dog and a husband, or, a spouse or a kid. I think being able to share those moments and make memories together is really like what you end up holding on to. Obviously, if you like gifts, there's amazing gifts that you could get for the dog moms or moms in your life. But I know, like, the things that mean the most to me are having those moments, like Chrissy said, where you're spending time all together and really just celebrating what it means to be the mom of this living being that you're taking care of.
And I also think that it doesn't mean that, like, on Mother's Day, we sit back and just, in our throne and we're like, excuse me, feed me the grapes. It's not like that. Sometimes I think that, Mother's Day is it's a great day for us to reflect and just be so grateful, because we can get so busy and the house can be messy and the kids having a temper tantrum and I get busy in the chaos. But if you could just stand back and be like, I'm so blessed and grateful to have this right now. And that means that maybe you guys can do an activity together. You can make like dog friendly, heart-shaped treats, but it's something that you did together. In turn, you do get a nice reward to maybe feed your dog, or make some like frozen, topples. These are great puzzle toys for dogs. And honestly, like, just making some crafts, but bringing the family together, I think, is something super special. But if you're like, yo, I need to get away from the family for a little bit, I support you as well. And so I say, if you need that spa day, you want to get some paw prints painted on your nails, I'm like, girl, go. You can ask for those things too. Listen, you can ask for those things too. So, but if there's one thing I'll say, and this is like not supposed to be relationship advice at all, but if there's something you want, communicate it. Because if there's one thing that doesn't help anyone, is just having expectations or assuming someone knows. So feel free to communicate it. Make a little post it and put it on the mirror, just as like, hey.
Yeah,
what
plus
I
one to that.
Really
plus,
hope.
As a male, we're so dumb. You could drop so many hints that even Detective Clouseau from the Pink Panther would be able to figure it out, and I will still be like, you just never told me.
Right. So communication is key. And guess what? Communication is also key for dog training and with your dog. A lot of times dogs do things and we think they're being wrong or they're doing something incorrectly, when honestly, maybe we're not being clear enough with our cues. So, just communication is such an important factor across the board, so that everyone's happy and everyone understands what's happening in the room.
As the only male here, I'm furiously taking notes, and I'm writing down husband.
If you work for treats, even
dog.
better, even better.
Yeah.
It's eerily the same thing. So we're running up on time here, but I want to give you guys one final question before we let you go, and that is, what advice would you give to new dog moms out there who are maybe just starting their journey, or I guess got a little puppy, or rescuing a new dog, and are really looking to build that strong bond with their pet?
Sure. So new dog moms, I'll start off. New dog moms that just became a dog mom, they're just bringing that puppy home. I watched this hilarious reel yesterday of this woman girl, like my age, like adopted 2 large breed dogs together, just adopted them. And she's in her apartment like, this is going to be so fun. Welcome home. And she's running and she turns around and the puppy goes to squat. And then it was just like reality set in. And she was like, oh, wait a minute, I've got 2 big dogs now in my apartment and it's peeing on my floor now, like reality set in. So, something that I say is that, first of all, breathe. This is a process. It's a learning curve for everyone. Get a hold of some local positive reinforcement professionals that can help you along the way for potty training, all of that. Follow some great people on social media that can maybe help you. But it is something that you have to give yourself grace, that you are going to have to sacrifice some things you're used to doing. Your life is about to get rocked and changed and new schedule, new routines. But if you can just give yourself grace through the moments when it feels like it's a lot, it is temporary. You will get through it. But I do always suggest to, stack your deck, get that army of professionals who are going to be right there to help you through those early stages, because puppyhood can bring tears. It can be tough. It's not all fun and games. So, get your army built so that you have that support system.
Yeah, that's really, really a great point. And there's actually something that's called the puppy blues. And I think that happens to people when they get on this like really high like expectation of when they're bringing a new puppy home. They're so excited. They expect it all to be like this rainbows and butterflies. And then reality sets in that you have like a little baby shark with teeth that pees and poops in your house, that destroys your house, that bites you. And you're like, what is going on? Especially if you're not used to what a new puppy brings into the house. And so I think giving yourself grace is really important. And everybody makes mistakes with their puppies. You're going to have some lows and you're going to have some really high highs too. So try to remember that it's just a stage and this is not going to be forever. Like Chrissy said, having like people around you to help support you is really important. But also like you are raising an adult dog to be the dog they're going to be. The puppy stage is such a short time. So don't try to make that dog grow up too quickly. Just enjoy them being little. I'm trying to do the same thing with my son. Like he's jumping off of chairs right now and he doesn't know that he's not supposed to do that. But I'm trying to enjoy those like stressful moments because, he's only little for so long. Same thing with a puppy. They grow up so fast. So, give yourself some grace, enjoy the little moments. And when you have those hard moments, just remind yourself that this is just a small portion of time.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, that was great advice for anybody with a new puppy. A lot of that advice applies for just adopting an adult dog too. And we are so happy to have you guys join us for the Mother's Day episode. Chrissy Joy and Amber Aquart with the Dog Mom second season coming up. And I know, Chris, you and I will announce it when it launches so everybody can catch it. But in the meantime, tell us where folks can follow you on social.
Okay, I'll kick it off. You, please, if you want to learn more, see some dog training, cool tricks, and if you have any questions or just need to vent, you can follow the Joy Crew or the Chrissy Joy on any social media platforms.
Yes, if you guys have a new puppy and you want to vent, you have the puppy blues, or you want to show off all the things you're training your dog to do, you can find me, Amber Aquart, on social media, or you can find my dog and all of our cool stuff we do together, Whiskey Toller, all across any social media page, and we'd be happy to connect with you guys there.
Awesome. And if y'all out there want to catch up on the Dog Moms before season 2 drops, head on over to dogtv.com/ The Dog Moms. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. This was an
you,
absolute
ladies.
pleasure. Though dangerous, giving me an offered event. You don't want.
It's gonna be in my DMs like,
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that. For everybody other than Chris.
I love it. Thanks for having us, guys. Really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Bye.
Bye. They are so awesome. You know, we had a
outshined
chance
on your own show.
I know, right?
Ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
We had a great time in person with them a couple months ago at Global. Chrissy travels with like 4 dogs, and it's crazy. I don't know how she does it.
Yeah, and they, we had the gift of hair and makeup available for the studio, and they tried to do something with these under eyes, and there just wasn't. They just did not have enough makeup. There's just
They didn't have your shade of concealer.
Yeah, which is midnight black. But it was a lot of fun doing this stuff in person. And for those who don't know, this show's largely filmed just like kind of with the internet. It's very rare that we all get to be in the same spot together. So it really was a treat.
The product of the week.
Okay, it's time for the product of the week, and I've got a quick one here. I don't want to chew up everybody's time with something, but I found another like really just kind of clever product, and it's for people if you've got furniture you don't want the dog on. This is called the Dog Off It Furniture Protection. And this is kind of how they describe it. Eco-friendly, all recycled material, which obviously makes it great for me. I love that kind of stuff. But basically, they are these plastic tubes, like half cylinders you put down, and they are meant to create contrast. And it is more than just like a physical deterrent. The dog looks at it and goes like, "I don't want to sit there anymore." It makes it like look less comfortable. So it's where do they say it's like some type of science. I don't know. It's the same type of science that kind of DOGTV uses, where they've looked at the way not just humans look at things, but the way dogs look at things, and they created a shape and used specific colors. Now, here's the thing I don't like about it is it's not an everyday product. This is like if you're going away or if you leave the house during the day and you don't want the dog using the sofa, you kind of just set it up. It kind of slides out. You put it down. Supposedly works. They were over at Global Pet Expo a couple months ago, and I took a look at the product. It's a nice, sturdy, recyclable plastic. They're really working hard on making sure that it's not just like another crap plastic product, but is kind of that recycled material. So check it on out. I think it's just dogoffit.com.
That's clever. Like the opposite of dog on it, dog off it. That's
Dog Off It.
Very cool. Hey, mine is also one that I saw at Global Pet Expo a couple months ago. This is for kitty cats. And the company is called Fussy Cat Premium Market Fresh. This is a dry food, but what's special about it is it's tuna forward. This is for tuna-loving cats, which pretty much means all cats, right? It has antioxidants, rich superfoods like blueberries and cranberries, low glycemic chickpeas, omega-3 rich flaxseed, and this is a new formula that they're making without any grain, and it also features fresh, lean tuna, sushi grade, as the number one ingredient. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I think a lot of cats, and I think Tiger might be one of them that only eats dry food. Or no, she can't eat dry food.
She only nibbles on dry food reluctantly.
She gums it.
Yeah. She gums it. Exactly.
I think this is a really great option for people who maybe would like to switch to a wet food, but their cat is insistent on eating dry food. So now you can really get that top quality tuna forward, number one ingredient food to make sure your kitty's getting the best nutrition possible in a dry food.
That sounds great. Yeah, Tiger, surprisingly, not a big fish lover. We used to get her like the variety pack of pate food and she would never eat the fish flavors, so we switched to poultry. She's a bird huntress
She's
at
a
heart.
bird.
Yes, she is a bird huntress at heart.
Q&As.
It's time for questions.
Yes, it is time for questions. Some might call it our favorite part of the show, where we get to answer 2 questions from our lovely listeners. And I'm in your head, listener. I'm there. I'm like Professor X, and I know what you're thinking. How do I have my question answered by Chris and Kristen? Well, unfortunately, I can't use my mind reading powers to know what you want to ask. So you're going to have to head on over to petsadlife.org/podcast, fill out a quick form, and you will be able to get a question answered on the show. And if you're feeling as brave as all of the mothers out there, you can leave us a voice memo and you may hear your question played live on these very airwaves. So without further ado, Kristen, we got a question here. Sarah from Lexington, Kentucky.
Hey, Sarah.
Kentucky. I don't know why that became a tongue twister for me, but alas. Sarah asks, as a new dog owner, I'm curious about the best ways to keep my home clean and odor-free, especially with shedding and the occasional mess. Any tips?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So keeping your pet home clean is all about managing the shedding, the stains, and the odors. So I would say first off would be regular grooming for your dog, regardless of, you might have a short-coated dog. You can still groom them on a daily. It doesn't have to be daily, I guess. It could be a few times a week, because if you brush them outside or in an area where it's contained, then you're not going to have that fur just shedding off as much. So all over the house. So I would say regular brushing. Also, regular bathing. If you've ever noticed, if you bathe your dog like in a bathtub or outside, by the house or something like that, you ever notice how much fur comes off during a bath? A lot, because you're lathering them up and you're kind of massaging their coat, and all those hairs that might fall out on their own in a few days are going to come out. So definitely that will really help the shedding control. Also, vacuuming more frequently than you probably did before you had a dog. And they have pet-specific vacuums. A lot of companies make them, Bissell, Dyson. I think they all have a pet vacuum.
Yeah.
But one that has HEPA filtration is really important. And be sure you get one that has upholstery attachments. So if your dog is allowed on any of the furniture, you're going to have shedding there. And it's hard to get it up without, a vacuum attachment. As far as the stains or odors that may happen, I highly recommend you use an enzymatic cleaner. Those are basically plant-based cleaners that use natural enzymes that will literally eat the stains and remove them completely. But the trick is, with enzyme cleaners, you really have to follow the instructions. And I know this because I have my own enzyme cleaner. It's really important that you leave the solution on long enough for the enzymes to do their work. A lot of people want to spray and then wipe away. That's not going to get rid of the stain. So use them properly. And what else? What did I miss? When they come in, when your dog comes in from outside, make sure you're wiping any muddy paws, toweling them off. And other than that, that's my best advice. You have anything to add to that, Chris?
No, just that I have the Dyson pet household vacuum, and it sucks. Which is actually a compliment when it comes to vacuums. So
you almost had me there.
Yeah, I got everybody with that one. All right, what do you have for me there?
Okay, all right. I like this question. I've heard this question a lot. This one's from Emily in Denver, Colorado. Okay. She says, "I noticed my dog occasionally eats grass during our walks. Is this normal behavior, and should I be concerned?"
Great question, and I'll say this much right off the top. A dog eating grass is a lot more normal than a dog smoking grass. But anyway, so first up, dogs are opportunistic omnivores, scavengers. They will eat pretty much anything, and grass is a part of their ancestral diet. But that doesn't mean that they should be eating it, but it is totally normal for your dog to want to eat grass. Now, if your dog eats a little bit of grass and it never really makes them sick, it might not be worth the effort in changing the behavior. If your dog is eating a lot of grass, you're probably going to want to change the behavior. If you're in an area that uses a lot of herbicide or pesticide or long treatment stuff, then you got to change the behavior. They shouldn't be eating that at all. And if your dog ever gets sick or throws up green or has really, really loose stools, this is probably the issue. So how do you get them to stop? Well, the same way that you train a dog to do anything else. You reinforce the behavior that you do desire. So when you're going on your walks and they look at the grass and they get that look in their eye of like, I'm going to go eat that, you say, no, stop. And when they stop and sit, you give them a treat, and then you move on and continue with your walk, and you give them a treat again for moving on and not going to the grass. So like I said, if your dog's just going up and, takes a couple of leaves off a plant or a little nibble out of the grass and then just moves on and it's all like everything is fine, it's probably not worth the effort. Grass can actually be a little healthy for some dogs. I wouldn't recommend it, but it has a lot of fiber. So your dog may actually be lacking some fiber in its diet. You may need to look at a food that has a little bit more fiber because, like people, we're opportunistic omnivores as well. We require a very varied diet to get everything that we need. Dogs are the same way. Have you ever noticed, like, Kristen, you ever have this feeling where like you've had like a week where you've like only eaten junk food? And suddenly you're like, man, I would kill for a plate of broccoli right now. It's our body basically saying, your body's basically telling you like, oh, I need these nutrients right now. So your dog can be having that type of craving as well. Totally possible for a dog to feel that way. So if it's a continued issue, you may want to look into a higher fiber dog food diet for your pet. And Kristen, that brings us to the end of our Mother's Day episode.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, bummer, but it's time to go spend some time with Mom.
It was a great show.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, and I'm actually taking my mom on a trip this year for Mother's Day.
Ooh, where are you going?
She wants to go to Savannah. She's never been. She wants to go. So my sister and I are going to treat her to a little weekend trip in Savannah.
That's awesome. That's actually really fun. I still don't know what we're doing for Mother's Day. We'll probably go up to my parents' house. Probably, who knows?
They just want to spend
me
time
and my family.
with their kids.
We're terrible at making plans. We're like the worst family ever when it comes to actually just being like, yeah, here's exactly what we're going to do. So yeah, we'll be up there for sure. That's not a problem. Remember, everybody, call your moms, get her a card, send her some flowers, do what it takes to be a good child. She brought you into this world and she can take you out. We will be back here as always next Tuesday with another episode. Until then, be kind to yourselves, be kind to your animals, and Kristen.
That's all from Meow. Tune in next week.
Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond with Kristen Levine and Chris Bonifati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and DOGTV.